Puja, we're not hearing you.
Uja, everyone, and Dua for joining us this evening. I'm Bastu Aku, the facilitator of the Kemetic Diet Study Group. And in brief, the Kemetic Diet Study Group was engendered about 5 years ago to study the philosophy and wisdom of Kemet. As a matter of fact, of the Kemetic diet that was set forth by our sages that has been resurrected by Dr. Muata Ashby-Sebai Maa. And so in this diet, it proposed that there are three actual food for us: the food for the body, food for the soul, and food for the mind. And in doing so, our group actually honed in on the importance of purification. And as such, we incorporate a periodic 30-day seasonal fast. And of course, the winter solstice edition is extremely special. So over this next 30 days, what we do is we prepare ourselves for the special time of the conference, and we do so with special lectures as well. And this evening, we have the honor of having Dr. Muata Ashby-Sebai Maa giving us a special presentation on the insights into the vegetation flora of ancient Egyptian mysteries. And so, for those that do not know who Sebai Maa is, and probably you're not familiar with him, he actually is the high priest of the Temple of Shatan Neter. He began his studies in the area of religion and philosophy and achieved his doctorate degree in these areas at the same time. He began collecting research on what would later be called the Egyptian mysteries. And actually, the book Egyptian Yoga was the catalyst for many books that he has written. And I think to date, we're probably at 70 books that he has written about Kemetic philosophy. And so we hold him in high esteem as definitely an expert in the philosophy of ancient Kemet. And we're honored to have him this evening to tell us a little bit about the flora that we're going to have in the conference, the flora matter. And so while Sabai is getting ready to come on, we're going to engage some chants. And it's going to be call and response. Bastu Baket, if you're on, if you have the chants available, you could go ahead and put those up. Just one moment.
One moment, Cindy. Let me find them.
Do
And hopefully it'll let me share them.
mhm.
Do it all for your patients. It's saying there's something already being shared.
Okay, so we'll definitely.
Oh, it looks like you stopped it. Okay, let me see if I can share now. Sorry.
No problem, Santi. So chants are words of power. It actually helps to calm the mind and prepare us mentally for the blessing we're about to receive. So it's done in a call and response fashion, and we'll definitely demonstrate that for you this evening.
Unfortunately, it won't let me share that, so we'll just have to
Okay.
go with call and response, I guess.
Right. So sitting with your back straight, allowing your abdomen to expand as you inhale and to contract as you exhale. Deep inhale gently exhale. Call in response. Om Amun Rapatan.
Om Amun Rapata.
Om Amun Rapatan.
Om Amun Rapata.
Om Asara Hetheru.
Om Asara Hetheru.
Om Asara Hetheru.
Om Asara Hetheru.
Om Mati Mahakeru.
Om Mati Makeru.
Om Mati Mahakeru.
Om Mati Makeru.
Otepti Sinateri Metuwash.
Utepti Sinatili Metuach.
Otepti Sinateri Metuwash.
Utepti Sinatili Metuach.
Atep.
Atep.
And without further ado, say bye. And Sebai will be joining us shortly. Atep.
Good job. Does everyone have sound? And can you see picture and everything?
Uja Sabai, Ni, Atep.
All right, very well. So we'll go ahead and begin our presentation for tonight. It's entitled Introduction to the Plant Flora in the Mysteries of Ra and Hetheru. I wanted to go and immediately show some images of the scripture that we are talking about. The mysteries of Ra and Hetheru are contained in a scripture. The earliest version of the mystery, which entails mythic aspects, metaphysics, uh, mystic philosophy, is located in a tomb, an ancient Egyptian tomb of a sage king by the name of Seti I. This scripture is written along the four walls of a room that is located in the tomb. And I have a couple of images here. Well, one main image. I don't have the 360 queued up, but if we have time at the end, maybe I can queue that up or to show it briefly. Although we have limited time for tonight. This is wall A. This is the first wall when you walk in. This is the entrance to the room. So you walk in and you immediately turn to the right, and this is what you see is this wall here. And this scripture, I've been working, for actually for off and on for years, translating the scripture. And initially, I did the most important sections of the scripture, which contain a system of meditation called, or that we refer to as glorious light, Ra'aku, glorious light meditation. And this meditation is enjoined for those who read the scripture, who follow the plot, the myth of the plot of the myth, which relates to a personality who was sent to the earth. And I'm just uh, really summarizing here, a personality that was sent to the earth and who forgot essentially who she was and got caught up in a delusion about being someone else, a different entity, who she was originally, got caught up in the worldly desires, in the experiences of duality of the world, love and hate, um, pleasure, pain. And so the scripture talks about how this happened and what was necessary for that person to be brought back to their senses, that person to be brought back to the original awareness of who they were, essentially. Throughout that mythic teaching, and this is the teaching that we're going to be discussing in more detail in December, the conference. Throughout that teaching, several items of plant flora were brought to bear, brought in to assist in the reconstitution of the personality who had fallen into delusion. And those are the ones that I mentioned there, the ones that we're going to talk about tonight. So we're briefly, in case you don't know, this is not the story. I didn't really give the name to the personality. The personality is essentially you, who are in the world and as if deluded to the understanding of your true nature. And that is a universal story for all humanity, all men and women who have come to earth and who have forgotten themselves, become deluded as to the nature of who they are essentially, and not recalling their spiritual origin. And that's what this teaching is all about: how to regain that spiritual origin and the things that need to be done in order for that to happen. And how is life when there is delusion, and how is life after delusion has been dispelled. And so we're going to begin looking at, let's see what the next slide I have here. So the personality, there are three main personalities for the center of this mythic teaching, mythic and mystic teaching. First one is all the way to the left, is the god Ra. The next one, second from the left, is goddess Hetheru. Third one all the way to the right is Sekhmet. And so the story goes, the myth goes, that Ra asked Hetheru, who, well, there's much more details. I'll have to control myself about that. Hetheru, who we can consider her his daughter, and he asked her to go to Egypt, to go to the earth, and punish people who were blaspheming him. I'm not going to go into the details as to why people were blaspheming him, but they were blaspheming him. And so he wanted to punish them. So he sent her to go to the earth to punish them. And on the way to doing that, she transformed herself into a lioness. And the image on the right is an image of the goddess and with her composite human body and a lioness head. In the in the mythic teaching, she would have transformed completely into a lioness. They were as if in a mythic context, they were in Anu, and Anu is in the north of Egypt. And then she went towards the south, and she kept on going down the Nile River. Those of you who know, you can see the little image here of Egypt, and the Nile goes from the north at the top of the image to the south. It actually goes much further. It goes into the interior of Africa, the Nile River. And so she kept on going. She kept on going, and eventually she became deluded as to what she was doing. She started enjoying because she was killing people. First, killing people that were the blasphemers, the bad ones, and then she got to liking it so much that she started, indiscriminately, killing everything, everybody. So Ra decided he had to do something about that. So he had to bring her back somehow. And so this is how the mythic teaching is talking about how humanity needs to be brought back to its senses, brought back to the understanding of who you are essentially. And that is essentially what the teaching is all about that is presented there. In a section of the teaching, it is talked about how Ra he took certain actions. Seeing what had happened to Hetheru, he took certain actions to prevent people falling into delusion, and we see how that has worked out in the world that we have now. And actions for a pathway for people to be led back to the fold of spiritual awareness and righteousness, truth, happiness. And even though the world the way it is now would make us believe that essentially these precautions, these pathways are faulty or non-existent or not there. Actually, it turns out that these actions taken by Ra with the assistance of his gods and goddesses and the preparations and pathways that were set up for regaining spiritual awareness are there, except that people are so far gone in their delusion that they cannot recognize those, they cannot access those. And so certain flora has been enjoined or has been applied to assist in the process of the reintegration of the personality and regaining the divine memory, and but also in calming the deluded, and we can say, in a way, in a context, to calm the stark raving personality that is the ego delusion that is plagued by most people in the world today and throughout history. So first, a definition of flora in the context of what we're talking about. Flora and fauna. This term collectively refers to the plant life, the flora, and the animal life, the fauna, of a particular region or time. Flora, the term flora refers to the collective plant life, including vegetation of the particular region or period. It includes all the plant species from the tiny plants to towering trees within a specific area. One term that we can use, not the only term, but one term that is very apropos for our purpose tonight in the context of studying of the Egyptian mysteries and initiatic practices, is the term Waj. Waj means greenery, or vegetation, and it has very important meaning in the spiritual life, the spiritual journey, as well as the worldly life as well, because there are two important aspects of the greenery. Not only two, but two important aspects. And one is the greenery of the Ta region. Ta is the physical plane, and then we have greenery or Waj in the astral plane, and in a certain higher sense, we also have it in the causal plane, and we're going to show an image of those planes. I believe I included it. So let's see where we are. The first item of Flora that is mentioned in the teaching is ama or barley. Very famously, barley is used for making beer. It was used in ancient times. It's used in present times, but it was not made in the same way in ancient times as it is today. Mostly today, when you get a beer made from barley, it's like filtered and very clear. And in ancient times, it would not be filtered in that way. It would be not so much soupy, but it would be more. It would be thicker. It would not be transparent, because, and you would have a lot of nutrients in it, along with a little bit of alcohol as well. So it'd be very nutritious, in other words. It has dietary fiber, it has protein, it has vitamins and minerals, has antioxidants, low in fat, low glycemic index, heart healthy, good for weight management, good for digestive health, and it's a whole grain. So this is something that you could maybe not 100% live on, but it would be a very sustaining part of a good diet, in other words. And so this is one of the items that was brought in by the order of to that they should be but some barley should be made, especially made into beer, to make a special drink to help uh, this diluted personality to be calmed, nourished and calmed. The calming effect is actually coming from another ingredient, another plant ingredient that we're going to be talking about. But this underscores the importance of proper nutrition for the spiritual life. And so this is kind of like one of the main themes of the Kemetic diet, that you should have a proper and nutritious diet. And the contrast of what I said earlier is that you could almost live off of barley. Uh, if you make it into a beer, it's a little different. If you make it into, if you consume it as a grain, it's a little different. But you would not be able to live off of beer that is made today from barley the way it is made. As I was saying before, the nutritious aspects, the dietary fiber, and everything else is either denatured, taken out. So consider that that when we were talking about beer in ancient times, it's not the same thing as what was referred to as beer today. And the thing about the kind of nourishment that people were living with in ancient times compared to the level of nourishment that they have today. which is by comparatively very deficient. And that deficiency is going to lead to a cognitive deficit as well. Cognitive, and not just cognitive deficit, but nervous system degradation of the digestive system, and these all contribute to physical disease, physiological disease, and mental disease. So people walking around today, that they seem human. They seem human. They're walking on two legs, and you can talk to them, but they don't have the same cognitive capacity. They don't have the same feeling capacity, the same awareness, the same fullness of people of ancient times. In fact, the sunshine that is able to reach the earth is different due to global dimming. The air itself is diminished in its nourishing capacity. It's more polluted. There's less oxygen in the world than it was in ancient times. So it's nutritionally, it's a very different world. And so it's important. One of the themes of the Kemetic diet is important to gain the nutrition value from nature that is meant to be sustaining for the body and mind. And in present times, if necessary, additionally through supplementation as well. But in ancient times, you would not need supplementation of any kind. The air, even the water would be nutritious. The plants, growing naturally, normally in nature, would not have the kind of denatured soils that are around today. Also, there are other pollutants like the electromagnetic fields that are everywhere, the 5Gs, the 4Gs, 3Gs, 2Gs, 1Gs. All of those are detrimental to human life and plant life. So there are many considerations there. The next item that was brought to bear by Ra, he was commissioned by Ra, was a plant called mandrake. And it has been identified that there are different versions or in the family of mandrake. There's a European mandrake. There's an Eastern Mediterranean mandrake. There might be even an American mandrake as well. And so this one has been identified as Mandragora officinarum. That's the Latin name, I guess. And I found an interesting article. Looked at a couple of things for the research for the scripture, and one of them there's a paper called Mandragora, an aesthetic of the ancients, and it appeared in a journal, Anesthesia and Analgesia. And so let's look at some of the properties. This is what the flower looks like. The mandrake, or Mandragora officinarum, belongs to the Solanaceae family, also known as the nightshade or potato family. It includes many poisons: mandrake, deadly, nightshade, henbane, and foods: paprika, tobacco, eggplant, potato, tomato. The mandrake is a perennial herb native to the Eastern Mediterranean basin and has a short stem and large wrinkled leaves with clustered bell-shaped flowers and berry-like orange fruit. The roots are forked into two, which with some imagination may look like the lower half of a human body. And there's another image of that, but I didn't include it. In the Ebers Papyrus of ancient Egypt, 1500 BC, an encyclopedic collection of older sources, along with an encyclopedic collection of other sources, lists greater than 800 recipes and 700 drugs, including the mandrake, to treat a variety of ailments. So there are some medicinal values for mandrake. Mandrake was used for medicinal benefits, but it is not clear that it was used for sedation until the time of Hannibal. And I included here just to show its sedative quality. The scripture itself, our scripture talks about the sedative quality, but this is a kind of a historical aspect of that. Hannibal was I guess, a king of the Carthaginians in ancient times and during the Roman period, and he was considered the greatest general. He beat the Roman armies, um, and he used it in war. He used mandrake in war. Um, he is said to have retreated in battle, leaving a feast with wine drugged with mandrake. The enemy drank and slept, and was ambushed when Hannibal's troops returned. And it goes on talking about how Caesar did the same thing later on. And here's the address of the journal. So the idea is that it has a sedative quality to it. But I would caution that I would not, unless you know a proper recipe to use. It's also has been known to be a dangerous plant. You could sedate yourself to death, in other words. It's important to know the proper protocol and recipe for using it. So these two items, along with one other that is not necessarily a plant that we're mentioning here, were used to sedate this raving personality, because if you are raving, and when I'm talking about raving, I'm talking about an egoistic personality that is fulminant, a personality that is always talking, a personality that is not introspective, a personality that is full of itself, egoistic. That is what we're talking about. So that aspect of the personality needs to be sedated. But there's another quality of the mandrake that is explained in the scripture that is not just an issue of sedation. It is sedation and also, if you will, steeping in the the deeper nature of self, which is referred to as the souls of Ra. So it means to become aware, to become cognizant about, to become uh, knowledgeable about the the levels or the aspects of the soul that the ego is not aware of by being constantly externalized. So it's an introspective capacity that the mandrake is allowing. So anything, and in fact, anything that calms you down, if you take some chamomile tea, if you do some special, breathing patterns that calm your heart rate and bring you into a parasympathetic, um, if you do chanting, anything like that you can be considered a mandrake if it also allows you to go into the deeper nature of yourself, and that is what the scripture is really talking about. And so far you can see how the plant flora is helping, is actually crucial in helping us successfully traverse the spiritual journey of return to our higher self. Reeds and the field of reeds containing herbs and vegetables. Part of the pathway that Ra set up for the return of the soul to the knowledge of its higher nature is a field of reeds. Essentially, at the point where Ra had successfully sedated Sekhmet, and then he started instituting this plan of prevention, this plan of a pathway for return of the soul to its higher nature, which is spirit, which is Ra himself. He created a special realm for people to go to who are spiritually evolving. And the special realm is called the Field of Reeds, Sektet Yaru, or Yanru. And the first part of the field, the reeds, the reeds are used for making papyrus paper. The reeds can be used for making boats, for making dwellings, for making roofs. So you can see how the greenery sustains the physical, physiological aspect of the person, and also the mental by calming the wayward mind, the wayward personality, and also it can shelter the physical body. It can produce a medium for the expression of the thoughts in written form. And so, uh, not only that, this special realm that was created by Ra has he's talked about having herbs and vegetables. And so again, we're being affirmed that the special pathway of return is paved with greenery, is paved with special herbs that are able to heal, special herbs that are able to provide special nutrients. The vegetation, and that's the difference. Like if you're, let's say you're eating or consuming, um, say, lettuce, and the difference between that and say a plant like basil or dill or some other herb. I guess there's different flavor, there are different nutrients in those, but you need both. You need the finer vegetation, the herbs. You need the grosser, shall we say, and recalling that vegetables like lettuce are the favorite of Hetheru and Set. In a higher sense, we're going to talk about it more towards the end. All greenery, in general, all the Waj, is an expression of Assad. And we're going to be getting into that, I think, in the final couple of slides. So again, the message for the spiritual journey is you're not we're not being enjoined that there's going to be beef and ham and salami and any meat of any kind in the return of the spiritual journey, and This is, again, we're being affirmed that this is the proper food for human, and the proper food for the return to true humanity, as opposed to the, the bogus, barbarous humanity that we have today, a humanity that is should not even be called humanity because it doesn't display the civility of human nature. Talking about collectively, not individually. And most of that is, of course, the pollution, the meat eating, the deluded life of egoism. And that is what the scripture is countering. This is an image, one of the images of the field of reeds from the tomb of Sennacherib. And you can see how these are different sections. The field of reeds is more towards the bottom. You can see how this is going on in a heavenly region, in a region of the netherworld. And you see there is, you know, the reaping of the wheat and farming and the growing of trees and the fruits. The deeper you go, the deeper you find a region of the trees here. This is where it is said that the Akus live, the shining spirits, and the shining spirits are the level of development, the high development of a human soul. And the closer you get to this final little region on the right, the bottom right here, this is you're getting to the region of the universal soul, the Nefer, and that is the Asar, and that's the ultimate green. Herbs and vegetables to feed the body and mind. And this is one of the verses that talks about the herbs and vegetables. Semu im ze keped sekted yadu pa ged a. Herbs, vegetables in within and causing to be created a field of reeds. This foundation of mine of Ra, who is speaking. Then there was a next. So this is a trilinear translation. You have three levels of translation. The original text, and then you have 80.1 is the transliteration, then 80.2 is the word for word, 80.3 is the contextual. In the contextual we have, then there was a next ideation. So the ideation is of Ra is thinking this, and it happens by the will of his thoughts. And we're going to go into the details of the mechanism of that, but basically, he thinks it into existence. He thinks about reeds, and then a field of reeds comes into existence, and about herbs and vegetables, and forthwith that ideation was the cause that brought a field of reeds into manifestation. According to, again, Ra is doing this as a pathway for the redemption of the soul, as part of the pathway. According to the Hetheru, the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead text, the field of reeds is a region of the netherworld, the Duat, wherein an idyllic green, vital, pure, untroubled experience can be felt. After having discovered peace in the field of peace, now in the field of reeds, it is as if a subtle astral replica of life on earth, but devoid of stress and strife, a sort of heavenly region where a heavenly experience can be had without effort. in the physical world, everything takes effort, and you never really get the reward you want from that effort. But in the field of reeds, that is it is fulfillment itself. It is joyous. It is relaxed, and it is nourishing just by being there. And obviously, you don't have a physical body there. You have an astral body, which is your mental body. However, this is neither the subtlest region nor the end of the spiritual journey, for there are subtler regions such as the Anrutav region and beyond. And I sort of talked about that little section at the bottom right hand corner of the image. There is the subtlest level of existence beyond all regions, beyond mind or ego identifications or notions. That's asar. That region is beyond even the designation of regions or mental conceptualizations and can only be described as a transcendental absolute, understanding that it is beyond even the definition of words or concepts. Yet these regions serve the purpose of abodes for the souls who qualify for residence in their corresponding levels of spiritual attainment, from earthbound to transcendental absolute. Ra reflected, "This is the foundation I have created." In other parts of the scripture, it talks about a stairway that leads up to this region. It talks about a pathway that is controlled and governed and curated by other gods like Jehuti, like Geb, like Nunu, and ultimately by Assad himself. And so, again, this pathway that is paved with herbs and vegetables, and that is in the realm of reeds, not in the realm of think about it. It's what it's relating to is a realm of a natural kind of idyllic, even bucolic environment, not really a concrete environment or an asphalt environment per se, and that's more harmonious with the vegetation of life. And in a way, since humans live off of the vegetation, and ultimately off of the vegetation that comes from spirit, which is the ultimate vegetation, it means that you are what you eat. So if you think about it, plants get their nourishment from the sun, as well as from items in the soil, and so too humans get nourishment from the sun and nourishment from the soil through plants as well. Hmm?
Also, the nourishment of oxygen.
Right, but I was just specifically focusing on the plant aspect and on the solar aspect that is itself is dependent on which the plants are dependent upon too. I was kind of focusing on that. I said there are other elements, the nutrients of the soil and things like that. I wasn't focusing on those right now. Another item of plant life that is mentioned in the mythic teaching is in verse 154. Pu ba pu en he net aba pu en kek gerea. This soul of mine, the soul of Ra, he's talking about his own soul. It is of the nature of eternal renewal, nourishment, fertility, and rebirth, as symbolized by the sacred sycamore, which is special to me and to Hathor. Hathor is Hetheru. So a couple of important points about the sycamore. Sycamore is a tree, and you can see the image on the left, which is from one of the tombs. I'm not sure which tomb this one is from. You see the goddess that that is living in the tree, and she is pouring out nourishment for the spiritual aspirant. So it's a tree of nourishment. It is sometimes referred to as a tree of life. The term is ket and ankh. Ket in this, the word as used is like a piece of wood, like a stick, and which comes from trees. There's another ket, which is kind of a pun, another term, which is ket and ankh, which is fire of life. And so you can think of the relation of the fire of life that is within the greenery, the life-sustaining greenery of plant life. The tree is famous for having a large canopy, and it produces shade. It also has a fruit that it produces that is nourishing. And it is a tree that is symbolized on the physical plane and in the astral plane. And it symbolizes the important aspects of the symbolism are the symbol of the tree itself, which means renewal, which means nourishment, fertility, rebirth, and also freshness. The freshness of being ever fresh. Like if you think of something that goes sour, or that gets overripe or rotten or something like that, this is ever renewing itself and ever fresh. You think of the smell of freshness, the smell of something that is new always. That is the sycamore, and that is the soul. And the soul of Ra is being talked about here, but we are also later informed that the soul of Ra is the same as the soul of everything in creation. Therefore, by the transitive mathematical property, if Ra's soul is ever fresh, manifesting as the sycamore, the greenery that is ever fresh, if you partake in the fruit of the sycamore, the shade, the life that it affords and protects and sustains, then by definition, you also are ever fresh. In this context, you are also immortal, just like Ra. This image here is an artistic kind of composite rendition of Ra, the god Ra, sitting under a sycamore tree, and you can get an idea at sunset. You can get an idea of the value of the sycamore, how it provides shelter and the fruit, and also the ever freshness that it symbolizes, and that's what Ra is essentially. So Ra and the sycamore are one. Olive oil is also mentioned, and olive oil can be considered part of the greenery, as it comes from the fruit of the olive tree. In verse 139, it talks about Sanu Baku Mertu Se Hetheru Her Awiu F Im Neter Zent Jeru. Now take some olive oil prepared into an unguent form and rub it on your arms until it is dry. This causes peace, it causes calm, quietness, quiet serenity, and contentment, and then immerse the arms in incense. And these are instructions to be done prior to practicing the meditation teaching that is in the scripture. And so some properties of olive oil. Olive oil, of course, was not the same as today as it was, back then as well. In the beginning, in Egypt, it was not known to grow in Egypt. It was brought in because of the climate. It was brought in from Asia Minor, the land today known as Palestine, Israel, this area. It was imported, and then from then on, it was grown in Egypt, especially in the Nile Delta region in the north. In the south, it seems like it probably would get too hot for it to grow there. So it was imported from Asia Minor during the New Kingdom era, not excessively consumed, but apparently it was consumed, but not excessively. Used for lamp oil. And one of the things that's interesting is that, like I was talking about the beer earlier, there are some olive oils even today that are made naturally and that are very thick and very viscous and very opaque. And it's not so filtered, it's not so refined, and so therefore it would be more nourishing. And I think that there's also a little bit of difference between the oil from olives as opposed to, well, not a little bit, there's a lot of difference versus the regular vegetable oils or oils from nuts like coconut and things of that nature. It's kind of like in a special category on its own. It's not like a seed oil. It's different from all those kinds of oils. So it doesn't have the same effect on the body as those other oils. Most of those oils, if not all of them, are very dangerous to health, and they were not um, in existence for most of humanity until maybe like a few hundred years ago. Although some other oils were used, sesame was used in ancient Egypt, but they're not used in the same way as they're used today, and of course they're not made in the same ways that they're made today, which are chemically laden and artificially, with synthetic production methods and so on. So the health qualities would be different. It was used in unguents, as it was in this particular scripture, and later also in fragrant, as part of fragrant oils. The effects on the skin are moisturizing, antioxidant properties, anti-inflammatory effects, wound healing, cleansing and exfoliation. And there's some people who also use it today for hair and to help hair grow and for the scalp and things of that nature as well. Asar is the guardian of the soul. He's actually the final one that is mentioned, which would mean the ultimate one. In verse 121, Ma'at Mejat Keper en im hata uj Mejat a senu en sake asar sayu. Behold, the greatness of my foremost decree. This is Kara talking. The greatest of my foremost decree, that your son Osiris, he's talking to Nunu, the god Nunu, who is the symbolism of the primeval ocean of undifferentiated consciousness. And then all differentiation, all objects are formed from that primeval ocean of undifferentiated consciousness. And all the gods and goddesses arise from there, planets, stars, humans, even Ra emerges from there. And so Assad also is an aspect that is related to Ra. Assad is the son of the night. Ra is the son of the day. Essentially, they are one and the same. And one exemplifies the principles of darkness, one the principle of light. Both are enlightening figures for the personality, so it depends on which one a person likes most, the iconography of, the feeling of. In any case, yeah, as far as choosing a tutelary divinity, in any case, um, uh, what happened was that Ra decided to leave humanity, and I'm not going to go into details, but he after what happened with Hetheru, he decided to leave and put these fail safes in place to save the human souls from perdition. And so he asked Assad, so he was going to go up and reside in the sky and shine on the earth, and then he asked Assad to take care and to look after humans, the human souls on earth, essentially to be their guardian. And so if you think about it, it means that the soul of greenery, the soul of vegetative life, because you see how Assad is also green. One of his skin colors is green, and Assad is the Ardit. Is whenever you're having a plate of salad or of something that came from plants, you're consuming Assad, and this is where the Christians got the concept of the Eucharist from. The Eucharist was practiced in ancient Egypt long before Christianity was created. And so, if you are being, how should we say, guided, if you have the guardianship of Assad, you are communing with, you are partaking with, you are sharing in the greenery of Assad. That is going to lead you back to your Assad nature, your soul nature. And so this is the kind of references that are presented in the scripture for all humanity to be to rekindle, but first again by sedation. First, you have to tamp down the egoistic tendency and the negative, the delusional aspects of the personality, and then allow the deeper watch, the deeper greenery, the ever freshness of the personality to emerge. And the ultimate nature of the personality is that same Assad nature, which is the same Ra nature that you're going back to. And that's what happened to this personality that was diluted. She went back, she discovered her true nature, went back, and took her rightful place as an enlightened being. So in summary, the spiritual journey, Assad is the universal soul and expresses as all greenery that sustains life. Healthy human life is dependent upon the plant flora. The healthy spiritual journey is nourished by plant flora. The spiritual journey is sheltered by plant flora. Plant flora is part of the divine compassion and plan to support the soul by facilitating purification of the body and mind when the soul goes astray, forgetting its true source and nature. Finally, divine plant flora is the spiritual abode of noble souls. That's the Sekta Yaru. Is it should say in the spiritual realm, in preparation for movement towards the absolute transcendental divine beyond. The beyond is Assad, the Nefer, the beautiful existence. And that is the true nature of all souls. It's Assad and or Hra, which are one and the same. We conclude with the ancient Egyptian invocation of health. Hetheru Sineteri Metuaj. Offering is given that causes the divine to make the vascular systems green. And green means healthy, it means vibrant. Hetheru Sineteri Metuaj. Hetheru Sineteri Metuaj.
Hotepti, Senatiri, Metuwash.
Hetheru Sineteri Metuaj.
Hotepti,
Deputy
Senatiri,
Metuaj.
Hetheru Sineteri Metuaj. The fourfold invocation is dedicated to promoting health for all humanity, for all life, in all directions of the compass, enfolding the whole world, enfolding the whole universe. So may this brief talk on the plant flora that is contained in the scripture, the teaching of Ra and Hetheru, may it help to give a few insights and more assistance or understanding about the impetus of pursuing greenery. Greenery in as far as your physical food that you take on, the greenery for your mind. That is the story of the teaching, the invocation of health, the thought, remembrance, the feeling of freshness for your mind, for your personality, and not being grumpy, not being angry, not being resentful, or and ultimately not being deluded, but searching for truth. All of that is part of the greenery for the mind, and for the greenery for the soul is entering into and discovering the ultimate nature of being, which is the source that sustains all greenery. And that is Hra Asad, sustains the greenery of the world, the greenery of the field of reeds, the greenery of the soul itself, which is connected to all other greenery. That's it.
Sebai.
Right.
Dua.
If you have any questions or comments, then you can turn on your cameras so everybody can see each other. Yeah, if you're in a sacred space, you can turn your cameras.
Sebai, as usual, very Nefer, much dua. So definitely very interesting with the connection of the plant flora. I remember the sycamore tree. I think we did visit one when we went to Kemet, and we had the the spiritual strength and will and blessing of being under one. So I just wanted to ask, now that we've had this presentation, what else can we look forward to in the conference? We're going to definitely be at the conference. What more? Are we missing anything, or there's more to come? Like, because this was a lot today. It was definitely a mouthful. So what else can we look forward to in the conference on this subject, Hatep?
Well, in the conference, I don't think that there are any more plant flora that were not discussed. But in the conference, more what we're going to do is to incorporate those into the ritual practice of the arits, the ritual practice of the main ritual of the conference. And so it's going to be very integral in the process of the study of the scripture. So that's we're going to try to really definitely implement that.
Okay, Dua.
And so I think through there are going to be some more insights coming out that may not have been discussed tonight, but we'll save this.
Dua. And I'll go ahead. Registration is still open, so I'll go ahead and post it in the chat for those who have not yet registered, so we can go ahead and register. And if anyone else have any questions or comments, Sebaja, Hetep.
I don't have any comments. Just everyone, if you're welcome to turn on your cameras if you're in a place with a good background and environment, quiet environment, you're welcome to.
Uja,
As far as the fun, you said you grew something. What did you grow? The mandrake or the papyrus?
The papyrus.
Okay.
Me. It was actually like the most easy thing to kind of grow too.
Oh, wow.
Me. What's up?
Okay. No questions?
Is there questions or comments before we close?
I would just like to say thank you so much, Uja, and much, much appreciation, Dua, for everyone that presented, and especially our beloved Grandmaster teacher. Thank you.
Dua.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right now I'm reading the Bhagavatam out from and I see a lot of correlations with a lot of the Kemetic philosophy. Is that where it went to? It went from Kemet over to India?
I would say so. You can read our book, African Origins, Volume 3, from Egypt to Egypt and India. I think it's a title, and I think that's we kind of go into details and to. I would also suggest getting the big African Origins, because part one, part two, part three. In part one, it talks about comparative mythology and how do you discern the interactions between cultures. But in short, I think the bottom line is that it seems to be indeed that Buddhism and Hinduism were strongly influenced, if not originated, in ancient Egypt.
Right.
And in the same context, like Christianity, it definitely, they took most of Christianity, like the Eucharist and the resurrection, all these kinds of things. But they took things from other places too. But some of these, for the fundamental aspects, like the concept of the Trinity in ancient Egypt, Amun Rapata, as to it's similar to Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahman. It's very similar conceptualizations, and we can also show contact between the cultures in ancient times. So it's I think it's highly, let's put it this way, it's highly likely.
Oh. Okay, thank you. Cool.
The African Origins hardcover is the 3-in-1. It has all 3 volumes that you could get individually in one, so it's very comprehensive. Otherwise, you could just get the volume 3 that Sebai Maa talked about, which is Egypt and India.
Yeah.
Do it, everyone. And actually, the book is in the chat by Sukena if you wanted to go ahead and see the one that Sebai actually referenced. And there is a question in the chat by Shemzia.
Right. It says, yes, in relation to the Assad imagery with greenery at the end, is there particular imagery that can use with some of the Assad chants or hymns we recite to gain a deeper intimacy with Assad? And indeed, the when you're doing spiritual worship, it's not the same as following um, a particular wisdom teaching that is more exacting. When you're doing devotion, you have a lot more latitude in how you approach the devotional practice. So, and generally, you are enjoined to worship a divinity, and the philosophy of the divinity, of course, it's not just blind worship, and do the ritual related to divinity so that it will help to connect you with the principal teaching of the divinity. That's the ultimate purpose. And so any divinity can be chosen by a person depending on their character, their inclination, their feeling. When you see different images, something especially vibrates with your personality. And if that's the case, then that's the one that you can use. And if you think about it, the sage gave an example of, like, say, your mother or your father or your spouse or your child or whoever, somebody that you care about. You may have several pictures of them. A picture of them at work, picture of them on the beach, a picture of them at a party, a picture of them going shopping or traveling. So any one of those pictures, you might pick. Let's say you're going on a trip somewhere yourself, and you want to remember them. So you don't have space for all the pictures, but you have a special one. This one is the one that especially resonates with my feeling. And so any kind of image of if it's a song that you're working with, any image that appeals to you is the correct image for you to use for the spiritual practice. That would be the most facilitative of your feelings, the one that is most inspiring to your thoughts and your aspirations. So in different practices though, like the wisdom path, the meditation path, there are more specific regulations that are to be followed. In the action path, then devotional path, you have a lot of latitude. So any image of Assad, and I should put a proviso in there that any image that exemplifies the 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 ancient authenticity principle of Assad that was enjoined by the ancients. And I put that proviso in because and nowadays there are many artistic renditions that can be found. And also now you have AI that is producing images. And that can have some elements that are not enjoined by the ancient tradition. So any image, even that is created in modern times, that follows the same principles, it's okay. If it deviates from those, then there can be deviation in your spiritual practice that you don't want.
I was going to say, like a suggestion for imagery for the for Asar, definitely you can go to the Temple of Asarbo, the Temple of the Solbo, and Cinema has, panels, imagery of panels in there throughout the temple. And for those who have traveled to Kemet, I'm sure you have lots of wonderful images as well too. And Cinema said there are many on the internet. Today I was drawn to the one on the Jesse Hetheru blanket mat of Asar, the embrace posture, where it shows that the Asar is being embraced by the two goddesses. So any of those can be inspirational or aspirational and work for imagery.
Well, on that last one, also, you can also inquire with people who are knowledgeable. If you find some image that you like, pretty much any image that you find that is, I say pretty much, because there's some late period temples that may be a little deviant, but let's say temples that you find generally, any images you find in Egypt are acceptable. And for modern images, you can always inquire with people who are knowledgeable, who can say, this is okay, yay, nay, or this element is a law, that kind of thing. Aspirant Anki says, in some of the myth, is the acacia tree also a representation of the tree of life? And I think that is also possible. The acacia is not mentioned in this particular scripture, but sycamore, acacia, and I think acacia is also related to Asar. And so, but think about it, the principle. So it's okay if it's also regarded as a tree of life. In fact, all of the trees are tree of life, and ultimately the source of the tree is spirit, and that's the real principle that we're after. Heru Benu, Uja, I was a little curious. What was discussed about the herb tobacco, or any comment on this herb would be appreciated. And there was no discussion about tobacco. Tobacco is not mentioned in this particular scripture. The only thing that I think that is interesting, it seemed like a reputable source. I never verified, but it seems that there was some tobacco discovered in a mummy in ancient Egypt, of ancient Egypt. And as you may know, tobacco is only grown in the Americas. And so if that's the case, then it would mean that there was contact between the Native Americans, maybe the Olmecs, maybe the Mayas, and but I suppose it could have been North America too, and the ancient Egyptians. But I'm not sure that that was, fully verified. But my other feelings on the tobacco is that the way the Native Americans used tobacco, and they use it's similar in a way to different items that were used in ancient Egypt, from the standpoint of being natural tobacco that was smoked by Native Americans prior to the Western invasion and colonization is different from the tobacco that is created today, with many chemicals and carcinogens. I'm not saying that smoking it or even the way they used in ancient times is beneficial. They used it's a special pipe that went into both nostrils. That was one thing that I've seen. They didn't really smoke it through the mouth like they do cigarettes or cigars today. Uh, and, um, but it's interesting that it's a kind of scourge that Western culture has received, and I was in a in an interesting context. I always thought it was a kind of curse that they received for the genocide that was perpetrated on Native Americans by the Europeans. And think about how many millions of people have died of lung cancer, and also not just lung cancer, but other diseases, emphysema and other things, uh, by this scourge that it was adopted. And also the sugar, that's another scourge, the diabetes and all the different neuropathies and everything else that's developed. And that's the RU, I guess, in a way. But I personally do not use tobacco. I do not see any need for that. There are plenty of herbs and vegetables to use for health, as well as calmatives, like I discussed. The scripture talks about the mandrake particularly, but even valerian, chamomile was used in ancient Egypt also. Uh, uh, the idea is to calm the physical animus, and to allow you to relax physically and then mentally, and then to allow yourself to be immersed in your soul nature. That's the idea. Aspirant Erica says, Uja, is it possible that we can get a copy of Ra under the sycamore tree for personal use? Sure. And I thought we had an interesting this discussion about these kinds of images. Basically, what you see here, let me put it up again. What you see here is an AI generated image. I gave it the idea. Give me an image of the ancient Egyptian god Ra sitting under a sycamore tree at sunset. And then it produced this image of this man sitting in a meditative posture. And but the crown was all completely wrong. And the eye of Ra, I put that in. The sun disk, I put in. The halo on the sun disk, I put in. And the rays, the sun rays, also, I put those in. And I also changed the tone of the image a little bit, the coloring. So you're very welcome to use it if you like. It'll appear in the presentation and also in the book that we're producing as well. And the idea is to, like I was saying, to me, to my estimation, this it's a modern rendition that follows the principles of the ancient wisdom. And as long as that is done, new images can be created as long as they follow the same principles and they relate to the same principles of ancient times. And then there will be no conflict. And even in ancient times, you have different renditions through different periods of ancient Egypt, but all of them correlate to each other. None of them deviate. They're not deviant into tangents of philosophy or spiritual teaching. So you can make a screenshot of that, or we can also send it out. if anyone is interested in receiving a copy of it.
You answered the next question.
Oh, which one? Where am I? I've lost my place here.
No, the next one is how do you feel about AI art? So you would
Oh, okay.
answer that.
That was answered about AI. Okay, this is from Bastu Aku to Aspire and Erica. Are you referring to the ones about? Okay, yeah. Me, okay.
It's full line to Kasuai to everyone via and come to have that relationship you were talking about.
Mayan and Kemet, to you have that relationship. There is, remember years ago, I was looking into the Maya hieroglyphs, and I thought it was very interesting. There are some similarities, but according to my criteria that I presented in comparative mythology, the book Comparative Mythology, as far as correlatable cultural factors, I beyond the similarity of some of the glyphs, I didn't see, even in the translations, because I don't read Maya glyphs, translations that other people did, I couldn't see like a pattern that I would say, okay, like I see a pattern with India, a pattern with with Nubia, that this clearly, one came from the other, that kind of thing. I don't, I was not able to discern that. And also from the readings that I saw, I did not see in the Maya a reflection of high philosophy, wisdom, high civilization, in the same way as it is clearly evident in ancient Egyptian writing. So I kind of, didn't pursue that. Basu Aiti says best is in the middle of the Mayan calendar. You see that's the if you read the comparative mythology, we cannot say just because something looks similar that these things are correlated or that they are sourced from each other or one sourced from the other. We cannot say that just because something is similar. Like for instance, there are many societies, many cultures around the world that worship the sun and that created sun discs and different images that if we consider, we might find them very similar, but the cultures never came in contact. And the human mind has certain similar structures throughout all the cultures of humanity and throughout history. So it's logical to find similar imageries like that. However, if we have other cultural factors that we can correlate, then we can be more confident of a correlation. Like if we have image of the sun, everybody has image of the sun because everybody sees the sun, and the human minds are structured pretty much the same. They're going to make it into a circle. They're going to put rays, things like that. But if we start seeing additional cultural factors, they have the images and have the rays and everything, and then they call those rays, say, let's use it. Just take a word, just pull out a word out of the thin air. Let's say they call the rays harsums. This culture calls it harsum. This culture calls it harsum. Then we have something maybe going on there. Then we can say, let's say the function is a cultural factor. This culture says the harsum, the ray, goes into the earth and burns it up. This culture says harsum, the rays, go into thin air and boil the air. These are two different functions that are being described. So we're diverging. That gives you an idea. If we can have a certain number of cultural factors that goes beyond, let's say, a statistical probability, then we can say with some confidence that these things are correlated, that these things are connected. What clinches it is if we can, on top of that, say and demonstrate and show the cultures were in contact, then we have even more confidence. If we can, beyond that, say that culture A had this symbolism and it had the words for it and it had the name and the same function and it had artifacts that were created and the artifacts looked the same in the other culture and the name and everything, and culture B started using that symbolism appears in culture B after the contact with culture A, then there's to use the term the slam dunk or the smoking gun or however you want to put it, this proof. So just by seeing an image that looks similar to another, we cannot just say, and I think that's a big problem. When I was studying these things, a lot of people jumped to things like that. Oh, you have two dwarfs in these two cultures? Oh, it's the same culture. They're doing the same thing. It's the same meaning. No, you can't jump to those conclusions. And it takes a lot of scholarship to discern those points. But a lot of people don't have the scholarship capacity. They don't have the time. They just want to jump to conclusions or to we're getting severe flash floods in the area. Uja sa dibinong. Uja was the plant moringa used in Kemet. I'm not aware of the moringa. And we have a couple of books that we can check, but I've never seen the moringa mentioned. The Egyptian herbal book that we have, and a couple of things like that. I've not heard the moringa.
I don't know if you look specifically.
Right. The Asparagus says I recently got a book about the herbs used in ancient Egypt, in ancient Kemet. That's probably one of the books that we have. So you can check in there. Yeah, an ancient Egyptian herbal by Lise Manish, I think. Yeah, that's one of them.
This one. This one.
All right. Yeah, there are a couple of books. I think Budge wrote one also. I think this one is probably more accurate, more scholarly. Okay, so we'll go ahead and conclude then.
A couple of announcements, I think.
Uja, just a couple announcements before we conclude, Sebai. Is Uaba Muntian?
Uja, I'm on.
A tap.
Uja, Sabama, Sabaja, and everyone. I just wanted to let everyone know that the calendar is now available, the 2024 Natarian calendar. And this year, we're going to be focusing on some of the stories and myths that are in the Glorious Light meditation. Just want to remind you that this is our Natarian calendar, and it has all of our holidays that we celebrate. So if you could just go out to templeofthemoon.com, and you can purchase a calendar now. So there will be a few at the conference, but I'm not sure how many there'll be. So if you can order it now, it'd be great. And again, I'd like to remind everyone to please join to register for the conference. This is it's just a glorious time to be part of the conference with all of the teachings of the new hieroglyphics that Sebai Maa will be translating, and also the rituals that we'll be performing, the music. This is our time, this time of the year, and it's a glorious time of the year. So let's take advantage of it. Don't take it for granted. So Dua, I hope to see you all there. Hotep and Dua.
Whoever
Next.
people also post in the email and temple group information on buying a calendar and the links there as well too after the program.
Hotep.
Program tonight.
Yeah, neat. And just a reminder also with the conference that this year we're doing a hybrid, and we in the past it's been online or in person. So this year we're working to do a hybrid program. So if you're not able to attend in person, you are welcome to join online. And in person, the lodging on site is full. So off-site lodging is available, though you have to secure your own off-site lodging, Airbnbs and things like that. But that's still a possibility if you want to attend in person. And if you're going to register, it would be helpful for your process if you register before, well, as early as possible, because we're going to start doing the preparation in terms of the replay of the past conference of the Glorious Light meditation, so that everyone can sort of start learning that, because Sebai Maa's not going to be able to go through the whole myth or everything there, so that what has been said before, what has been shared before, you can experience that. And so when you're there, you already have a foundation to build on to get more out of it. And then also, likely this is going to become a course next year, because again, Sebai Maa won't be able to go through everything that he's preparing, which will become a book also, and then the course will be based on the book as well next year, in addition to probably starting to have classes as well, and possible certification processes for the GLM as well next year, kind of the plans in the works.
Uja, I just want to remind the Basu online also do us so much that the Basu discount code expires tonight. I know Asar Ankh was going to send out a notice on that, and I have sent a few notices in the Basu Nation group, but your discount code expires tonight. So I just encourage you to go ahead and register.
Basuku, can anyone in here also, can it, like, if they join the raw or food preparation challenge, can you post in there the discount code so that they can access the same discount for tonight?
Nee. Okay, Nee. The special one I created, or we created, or
Nee, that would be the only, because I don't think we'd have time to create a new
one.
Yeah.
Okay, do it. So definitely let me tell you a little bit about the raw food fast. So as Uabamunti definitely expressed, it's a very special time of the year that we celebrate the winter solstice, the Natarian conference. And it is definitely so special because Sabdu will reach her zenith definitely around the 31st. And so, because it's such a special time, we prepare for that by definitely consciously ingesting the proper food for the body, proper food for the mind, and proper food for the soul 30 days, within 30 days prior to the conference. So I just want to invite everyone on tonight. Definitely, you're able to join us. We do a preparation, but the book that we will be studying this time for Food for the Mind is the Glorious Light Meditation text. So I'm just going to go ahead and post the form here for you to join. Here's the form if you want to go ahead, I think, and just go ahead and fill that out. And I'll add you to the 30-day raw food fast. And then you'll be able to get that discount code. Sarita, I'll definitely send that to you if you can. I do not have your information. You could send us your information or fill out the form. We can definitely add you.
And
So
if
do us so much.
if Basu Kat can also share, if you're not on the main temple signal group, because at this time we are sending out still a lot of notices to the different groups, but ideally we just prefer to send it out to the one group so our phones don't become overwhelmed. So if everyone on here, those who are going to join the Raw Food Challenge, automatically, if you're signing up for that, you'll be added to the temple group if you're not already in there. Basu can do that. So I think Basu had shared for the main temple group. So if you're not on there already, if you could join, that would be appreciated so that it can consolidate.
So again, just Dua Seba Ma, Dua Seba Ja. I'm definitely taking the time out for this presentation, and Dua everyone for joining. If there's any follow-up questions from tonight's presentation, definitely send it to us, but I encourage you to come and partake in the ritual that we will be definitely engaging in at the conference. Again, on behalf of the TEP.
Hit up.
I will leave it on for a little bit.